guys, I've got something kind of cool for y'all today, and that is how to make your own RTA. RTA stands for real-time analyzer. Thought this was really cool, thought it's something you guys might like to see. So about a week ago, I guess it's been about a week and a half ago now, I had a buddy come over, a real good friend of mine. He wanted me to help him install an amplifier in a relatively new vehicle. It was a 2018 with a JBL factory system, with a factory amp, factory subwoofer, all of that. We were going to integrate into that system with an aftermarket amplifier. And we weren't real sure at first. I wasn't real sure at first if this vehicle had the bass roll-off. I did do the multimeter test and check the voltage as he turned up the volume, and the voltage always climbed. That is probably the easiest way to do it, to be honest. But seeing it on an RTA is just really cool. It kind of takes it to another level. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, some of the newer vehicles, as you turn the volume up, y'all may have experienced this, you get to about half or 3/4 volume and you keep going, and the highs, the mids and highs continue to rise, but the subwoofer stays the same or even rolls off a little bit. It seems like it goes down. I think it's because as you're rolling the volume up, you're expecting to hear it go up, but it doesn't. And so those can be kind of difficult. They make some fancy LOCs these days. This is just a basic one. It's a really good basic one, but they make some LOCs and stuff like that, DSPs, and there's things that can correct that, and they can make that signal whole again. I'll show you a little bit of what I'm talking about here. So it's important to know, if you're messing with one of those systems, to know if you have that roll-off or not. That amp and subwoofer that you're wanting to put in back there may never perform very well if your vehicle has that. So I called Kicker, their tech support line, because I was interested in getting their key lock. That's their fancy LOC that will correct that signal if your vehicle has that. And while I was on the phone with the guy, because that key lock has 3 lights on it. It has a light for the lows, the mids, and the highs, and those lights will come on or go off as it detects those frequencies. And my question to him was, will it come on or go off enough to use it as you know, a tool, an installer's tool, to be able to detect if you have bass roll-off? And ultimately he felt like, no, it's not going to be sensitive enough for me to do what I wanted to do with it. I know that some people do use that tool for that purpose, but I didn't want to get one and fool with that if it wasn't like really reliable and really accurate and all that. With it just having the LED, I don't know at what frequency that light comes on or goes back off, but ultimately it probably just wasn't going to be quite sensitive enough to use in place of an RTA. So he said, well, you know, we've got instructions in our on our website that tell you how to build your own RTA, because we got to talking about how expensive RTAs were, several $100s. Dean and Fernando sell that one that they have for like $250, I think. It's something like that. I've thought about picking that thing up a time or two, but that doesn't even include a screen. You still have to have like an iPhone or an iPad to run it. It's basically these components in a little box, and it may do a couple more things besides that. So I don't want to slam on that thing. It's probably really awesome what it does. But if you're wanting to keep things pretty simple, this right here could get you by. And if you've got an old iPhone or iPad, you can put the rest of this together for like $70, $60 to $70, and have an RTA. So I'll show you the components at the end of the video, like the exact components. I'll take them apart and show them to you one at a time. But let's get to what I'm talking about. Let me turn this amp on. And I've got this actually hooked up to an amp because I wanted to have the extra adjustability with the crossovers and stuff. So let me turn the amp on. Another thing This LOC, and it is the one that Kicker recommends using, it can only handle up to 55 watts, which to be honest is pretty good. That is somewhere in the ballpark of 15 volts. You should be safe at 15. You might could even go up to about 16, but I'm gonna always stay 15 or less on that. Right here with this signal that you're seeing right now, that's only 3.5 volts. I have checked it. That's why the multimeter is out here. Let's get this out of our way so it's not a distraction. But I do think it's important to check your voltage. Normally you would be doing this. You'd be tapping into the speakers in the back, whether it be the 6x9s or 6.5s or the factory subwoofer, but you would be running this off of those factory speaker wires. And I would probably put a multimeter on those first and turn up the volume and see what kind of voltage you end up getting out of that. If you get over 15 volts, you may not want to use this. I think in most cases, even with a factory subwoofer with an amp on it, you're gonna be dealing with less than that. Just to give you an example, my buddies, this was a factory 8-inch subwoofer being powered by a factory amplifier, and it was only 8 volts. So anyhow, this is our signal. They would call that a flat signal. I know that that is not 100% flat, but most people would call that a flat signal. I know down here you see 31.5 hertz to 16,000 hertz, but the bar all the way to the left is 20 hertz, and the bar all the way to the right is 20,000 hertz or 20K. So this is a pretty flat signal. Let's just pretend that we were hooking this up. I'm turning the volume down now. We were hooking this up to our factory head unit in our car, and we were gonna roll it up, just roll up the volume. So this end to the left is 20 hertz. If there was some bass roll off, you would probably see somewhere in the ballpark of about right here where my finger is, you would start seeing this rolling off. Or as you went up on the volume, let's say you were down here. Let's say you were down here. And as you went up, maybe it's flat here, it probably would be. And as you would go up, the rest of this line would increase just like it did, but this down here, the lows would stay down. So these are the lows and these are the highs. Let me show you in the head unit now. If I was to go to my EQ in my head unit, let's give this a low pass right there. I just introduced a low pass signal to this amp, but from the head unit, and you see how that tapers off? If you were to introduce a high pass, it would be the opposite. It'd be high over here and it would roll off the bass. If you were to set up a band pass, which is a filter on either side, then you would have a little bit of roll off and a little bit of roll off at a certain point, and then everything in the middle would be high. And so how cool is that to be able to see this going on a screen like that? So let me now, with this amp, I've got to switch this over to high pass. And as soon as I do that, you see the bass roll off. Let me switch it over to low pass. Now this is on the amp this time because I went back to a flat signal on the head unit. Now we're giving it a low pass, and you see how those highs rolled off. So as I turn the dials, let's that is on 250 hertz according to the amp, but let's turn it on down and you'll see this signal change. You see the change there in that? So these are the crossover settings on the side of your amp that can be so confusing sometimes. Let's switch it over to high pass. And I did notice the high pass here just doesn't make quite as much difference. There we go. So that's from one end on the high pass where it's knocking out just those lows. And then let's roll it all the way the other way. You can see the slope there change. So that is really cool, because oftentimes, you guys know, we're moving these things back and forth, and we're trying to judge what sounds good and what doesn't. And I don't know, it's just different being able to see something actually going on a screen while you are making these adjustments. So, all right, if you have any questions about this, put them in the comments. Let me know what you think. I will, right here at the end of the video, show you these components separately. This thing is easy to make. I even thought at first, well, gosh, is that complicated? And no. Also, this is funny. After he told me that, I went on YouTube and I started watching some videos about it, and 2 videos I had already seen a few years ago. DIY audio guy, he did a video on this exact thing, and he used these same components. In fact, I ordered 2 of these wires, not the LOC, but the other 2 wires from his link. I don't often do that, because when you click on that, it wants you to sign in and all this stuff, but I went ahead and signed in and used his link for 2 of these wires. But then also the Kicker video. Kicker has a video out showing it. John and can't remember the other guy's name, but they show it, and I was hitting myself in the forehead, because I was like, my goodness, I remember seeing this a few years ago, but it wasn't anything I was interested in at the time. So check those out. Those are both very good videos. And I will tell you, after doing it now, it does work. It works well, but there are a couple of specific things that you need to get, especially one. There's one specific wire that you need to get, and I will skip to these components now. All right, guys. Number 1, you need an old iPhone or iPad, and I think it can be one that has, instead of the 3.5mm jack, I think it can still be one that has a Lightning or maybe even a USB-C. It's just that the next wire that goes in here would be a little bit different. You'd need some sort of adapter. But I think those other ones will work. But I wanted to use, because I wanted to be able to record with my regular phone and have something separate. And I knew that I had this old iPhone 6. This is just an iPhone 6 that I had a few years ago. And I guess maybe a little bit longer than that. But it worked great, and I knew that it still worked. You can hear this thing listening to me. That's the cool thing about it. When you unplug from it, it will listen to you through the microphone, and those things will change. So watch this. Sorry about that if that was too loud. Kind of fun to play with though. But you need something for your screen, and I know that the iPhones, iPads work. I don't know about Android devices. The next thing that you need is this cable right here. This is very short. It's a 3.5 on this end, and this end has something built in here. It's what is it called? An attenuator. I believe it is a mute, but it does need to be this. It doesn't need to be just a 3.5mm male and female. It needs to be this wire. Anyhow, so you'll need to search this out. Again, you can check out those other guys' videos. Go on the Kicker website. It ends up being in the tech papers. Then it says something like how to build your own RTA. So go to like support, and then tech papers, and then something like how to build your own RTA, and it will tell you these things. So I will tell you this wire here, so this is free if you've got one laying around. This wire here was like $30 or $32. I can't remember. A little bit pricey for what it is. But again, on this end of it has something built in there that you've got to have. All right, the next thing that you need is a set of these. They don't have to be this same one, but it's basically RCAs on one end and a male 3.5 on the other. This is the Amazon Basics, and this thing is, I think, about 3 feet long, something like that. The length doesn't matter, but it's just gonna be from this to this. And so this end plugs in to this end plugs into the phone. So we're pretty simple here. And then next is the Kiss Lock. And this is not the Kiss Lock 2. I have one of those as well. I keep one of those on hand at all times. But this is the regular Kiss Lock. And the difference here is, there's a couple differences, but the main difference is the regular Kiss Lock has adjustments here. So you have a little more adjustment in turning that voltage up or down, depending on what the voltage is coming out of the speaker wires that you're messing with. So it's nice to have that extra adjustability. The Kiss Lock 2, so this one does not give you a remote out. So if you want to buy one of these and have it on hand in case you needed an LOC for an install, just keep in mind, this one also does not need a power wire, but it does not give you a remote out. The Kiss Lock 2 gives you a 12-volt remote out. It works off of a DC offset. When it senses signal here on the speaker wires coming in, it gives you a 12-volt remote out. This one does not give you a remote out. So if you needed a remote for your amplifier, you'd need to get that some other way. But the Kiss Lock 2 does not have the adjustments here. The voltage that you get is the voltage that you get. So I wanted to get the original Kiss Lock for this. And that's it. So on this end, so you'll put the positives and negatives together. So the grays and the whites, the stripes go together, that's the negative, and the solids go together, that is the positive. And that's it. So I'm gonna put like alligator clips or probes or something like that on here. I will wrap this up with Tessa tape, heat shrink, something like that. I'll make it look nice. And I just haven't so far. I've just been putting these right in. Make sure you put them together, and then basically you're using it like one channel. So you'll put these in your outputs of your amplifier. Again, be careful with that because the outputs of your amplifier might be pretty strong. They might be too strong for this. Or you would just touch these to the speaker wires in your car, and then start playing with your signal to see if it rolls off. Also, I was playing pink noise a while ago. That's very important. Pink noise, if you don't know, it's all frequencies at the same time. It sounds like static. It just sounds like just static. But if you notice that line being flat, that thing was playing from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz all at the same time. And so that's the best way to detect if there's any sort of roll off. This still works. I've used it off camera at a 40 hertz test tone and a 1K test tone. It still works if you're playing a certain frequency. But pink noise is what you would want to use in most cases. You could get that off of any way that you get your music, but you would play that off of a CD, a thumb drive, even Bluetooth if you had to, or YouTube through any of those. But try to get you a good clean signal. I recommend a CD. I was playing the SMD CD there, but you get you a good clean track for that. Kicker has those on their website as well. All right, guys, this is pretty simple, but something that I thought was super cool. Again, let me know what you think. You could put this thing together for somewhere in the neighborhood of $60 to $70. This thing here is only like $16 or $18. It's actually a couple dollars cheaper than the Kiss Lock 2. Also, you don't need the brown. So all it is, and you don't have to power this. It's not like you have to hook up a positive and a negative to power it. You hook up the speaker wires, and then the RCAs are coming out of the end, and that's it. You don't need to use this this brown wire that is some type of brown chassis ground input, not required for most amps, is what it says there. So really simple, but it works good. All right, guys, hey, let me know what you think, and as always, thanks for watching. All right, I forgot one other thing. And I also wanted to lay these out there to make this look simple. If you saw me fooling with all these wires and you got confused, if you've got a phone already or an iPad, this is all you need to buy, is these three things right here. And that's saying that you didn't have these. But the app. So this is the app that Kicker recommends, Octave RTA, and I will tell you this, it is $9.99. I think John mentions in the Kicker video that it's like $5. It's probably gone up since then, but it is $9.99. There are some free RTAs. I did try a free one at first. It does work, but I didn't like it as much as the Octave RTA. So you would need to purchase the app, and that's it. You click on the app like I just did, and it comes up. Now make sure up here at the top where it says iPhone microphone, when you plug this in, if your phone is old and it's got a little been used a lot, you might have to fool with this a little bit. Now watch me have trouble with it. Now right there, you need it to go into that headset. Dadgummit. Come on now. Wow. Headset microphone. And you notice when I did that, it quit picking up my voice. But you need to, when you plug this in, it should automatically go into the headset microphone mode. So there it is. I'll unplug it. It'll go back to hearing me, and that's it. But you can pay attention up here at the top on what that says to know if it is in the right mode or not. If you're plugging this in and you're having trouble and it don't seem like it's working, you might need to mess with the your little plug-in a little bit. All right, that's it. That's for real this time. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching.